Thank you. Right.
Dear Wangari Grace, please introduce yourself and tell us where you're telling from. And please tell us a story.
My pleasure. So my name is Wangari Grace. I am a Kenyan storyteller based right here in Nairobi. So I am telling from Nairobi. Because I tell stories, people began calling me Wangari the storyteller. And I got a new name. So my name is Wangari the storyteller. Now, when we began talking with Eric last year about this festival, I remember he emailed me and said, Wangari, anytime we hear about Kenya, it's about insecurity, it's about terrorism. Can you please tell us something good about your country? And so I have been thinking, and I would like to share with you a story that happened many years ago. And I hope that you are going to get another face of, I think just like India, Kenya was a British colony. So this story is based before then. It's about a woman who prophesied about the coming of the Europeans and colonization. But well, let's figure it out together in the story. Kwena koso koso na koso koso na koso koso na koso koso. Kwena koso koso na koso koso na koso koso na koso koso. There was confusion. There was understanding. There was fear. Everybody gathered, looking around, wondering what was going to happen. What should they do? What should they do with the body that was inside that heart? Should they just leave it there? Should they throw it away? What should they do? I mean, those days, so many years ago, they knew that a dead body, was just taken from the house and thrown into the forest. So why were they hesitating? Why could not they come into an agreement? And who was the body inside the heart anyway? The body inside the small heart belonged to a woman whose name was Sioki Mao. And Sioki Mao is said to have been born sometime in the 17th or 18th century. No one knows where she came from. Nobody knows her parents. Nobody knows even her clan. And in fact, rumor has it that she was not born of a woman. No, that she was actually just sprung from a tree. And Sioki Mao, when she was a very young person, a very young girl, got possessed by benevolent spirits, which among the Kamba community of my country, they call them Maimo. And the benevolent spirits made her see things that others could not see, made her speak things that people could not understand. And as she grew older, the spirit grew even stronger within her. And she began telling things. She began telling people things that came to happen. Yes, she would see into the future. And then she was very good with medicine. She became a magnificent medicine woman, and her herbs and her therapies were known to cure all manner of illnesses. And she was famous far and wide. But she was not just a medicine woman. No, she was also a prophetess. She could see into the future. And so accurate were her predictions that even the leadership of the community took to coming to her and asking her what she thought about things were to happen. For example, before they went to war, they would go to her and ask her if they were likely to be successful. And if she thought it would be a success, she would call all the warriors and she would bless them, each and every one of them. She would bless their arrows. She would bless their spears. And if she thought that they would not be successful, she would tell the elders not to call for war. Yes, she became very, very popular there. One day, as Sioki Mao was sitting outside her hut, and people were gathering as they always did, she began shaking and shaking and shaking, and her eyes stared far into the distance. I see people! They are coming! They are coming! And of course, everyone began wondering who was coming. Kwasai, for you, of course, continued looking and saying, oh, I see people. Their skin is red. Their skin is red as if it has been burnt by porridge. They are coming. They are coming. And then, just as suddenly as she began talking, she sat silent and fell into a deep. So many questions and no answers. The next morning, when she took her uji outside, she continued to explain. Oh, those people will be friends of fire, for they shall carry fire in their pockets. They shall have fire in their hands. They shall have fire on their mouths. And oh, they shall love fire, for they will travel in cows that smoke. People didn't really understand what she was saying. So, well, these particular words were a bit tense for them, but they continued with their lives, wondering what would come of this prophecy. A week later, Sioki Mao became possessed again, just after the evening meal, and she began shaking and shaking and shaking. Oh, I see a snake! A snake! A snake is coming! She said. And everybody took off from the hut, thinking ran. Sioki Mao's boys followed them. The snake is coming! The snake is coming! And this snake is long. It is so long. This snake comes from one water body to another water body. And this snake has fire and smoke in its mouth. This snake swallows people from one mouth and vomits them from another. Wow. All these three prophecies came to pass when Kenya became a British colony. Yes, because when the colonialists came, they arrived, and indeed their skins were red, unlike what the Kamba community, were used to seeing. And when they came, they were indeed friends of fire, for they had fire in their pockets, fire in their mouths. Yes, they brought us matchboxes, and they came smoking cigarettes, and they had fire in their hands, because in their hands they carried guns that brought death and tears anywhere they went. And yes, the snake too came. For you see, when the British came here, they wanted to link Kenya, the port of Kenya in Mombasa, and neighboring Uganda, which was also a British colony. And so they would build one long iron snake, a railway from the Indian Ocean, coming all the way through Nairobi, down to the western part of Kenya, to modern day Kisumu, which is next to a big lake, Lake Victoria, which is shared by 3 different countries. And this snake indeed carried fire because it smoked, and it would bite people from one side and vomit them on the other side. But Sioki Mao's death was full of controversy. Kwena koso koso na koso koso na koso koso. Hey kwena You see, one day when they woke up and found that Sioki Mao was no longer breathing, they were really confused and they wondered, why had she not prophesied about her own death? What should they do with the body? Do they take the body and throw it away? Do they leave it in the hut? What to do with the body? And the elders sat down and they decided to leave the body for a few days. Maybe something would happen. But when the body began to rot, they had no choice. They did the last rituals, took the body and threw it in the forest. Now, 2 days later, loud screams and shouting were heard from the direction in which the body had been thrown. And of course, everybody rushed there to see what was happening. And they found a woman, Sioki Mao herself, shouting and praying. And of course, they were really scared. They did not know what to do. But when Sioki Mao saw them, she called out, "Ah, Ninye, Nimo Kuo. It is me. I am not dead. Come." And she would go back with them to her house. Some say that Sioki Mao died and came back to life not once, but 2 different times. And that anytime she came back, she never discussed about her time of death or her time away from the community. And of course, nobody would dare ask her what had happened then. But then, one day, they woke up and she was no longer breathing. She was dead for the 3rd time. And this time, however, it was a bit different. For she had died with her mouth wide open, facing up into the sky. And this was interpreted to mean that because it was such a rare occurrence, it meant that she had died when she was speaking with her ancestors. And this time round, she had left very specific wishes. That on her death, she was to be buried up on a hill between 2 specific stones. And so it was. Well, so they say that after that happened, anytime you go up the hill and you pour water, the water does not go down the hill as expected, but rather it goes up the hill. So it was then, and so it is to this day. Now, Sioki Mao inspired so many people with what she said, with what she would do. And many, many decades later, she would inspire another Kamba prophet. And this lady, Siomboa Kaducha, really loved what Sioki Mao stood for, what she had done, that she would name a territory in her community after Sioki Mao. And current day Sioki Mao is a vibrant residential area, not very far away from Nairobi. And if you come to Nairobi, if you come to Kenya, and you fancy going down to our famous coasts, you might decide not to take a flight, not to take a bus, but to take the train down to Mombasa. And if you do this, you might find yourself at the new Sioki Mao railway station. And there you will find a statue of this amazing woman of Kenya's past.
Okay, thank you very much. So she's a national hero of Kenya.
Yes, she is. She is. And so the new railway station is actually just about 2 years old. And I found it very fitting that she would actually be one of the big statues around there, because we do not have statues of many female heroes here in the country. So for me, it is actually a big a big achievement to have her as a hero there.
Mhm. So she gave warning about what was happening in sort of poetic form.
Yes, she did. And it actually happened. And if you look at Kenya's history, Kenya's past, different communities actually have different stories of people in their communities who they would call, some would say medicine men, some would call prophets, who actually gave warning early in advance about the coming of the white person. And yeah, so this is from one of the communities. As you might know, Kenya has very many different communities. We have about 44 official ones, but unofficially we should be around 57 different communities. So this story is from one of the communities, the Kamba community.
So,
What's
oh, go ahead.
so what quizzed me was actually it's so amazing, uh, the way you told the story. And I actually was feeling what she was doing as if I was there. But curiosity, is her tomb still there? This is what I want to know. Is it still there? And do people visit her? Is there something, the way is a national day, or is it there a remembrance day for her, something like that out there?
No, there is no national day for her. We have a general Heroes Day for heroes of Kenya's past. But then for her, although there is no official there's no official tomb where she was buried, but where the story says that where she was buried, up on a hill between two stones, where she had said she should be buried there. Even now, of course, people say it's science, and I know there are other places in the world where this happens. Even now, when you go and pour water, water goes up the hill. So it's actually a major place for even for local tourism here in Kenya. So, and I hope that we would actually have a day for her. It would actually be very, very nice. I think she's a completely different kind of a hero, especially because we do not seem to celebrate enough female heroes here in the country, both in the past and even in our recent history. So it would actually be really nice to do that.
Thank
So do you tell that story in schools sometimes, or at museums, or at government events? Where do you tell that story?
So this story, I just worked on it last year, thanks to the COVID holiday.
Hmm.
So I have only told this. This is actually the first time I'm telling the story to a live audience,
Hmm. Hmm.
But I have told the story in collaboration with our a parastatal here, a government body that is meant to archive Kenya's past. It's called the Bombers of Kenya. So I have told this story for them, and it is actually on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube and Google Sioki Mao, there is a version of this story, and that version is actually also quite interesting because it has there's also traditional dancing from the Kamba community. It has original songs from the Kamba community. So if you can check on YouTube, it is Sioki Mao. Let me just type that here. You can actually see the story there. So it's actually a project that I began working with them last year because mostly they have been doing dances, traditional dances. So, and they have a physical place where people, tourists come and they watch this. But then I think now with COVID, they thought, ooh, what do we do? And they approached me to partner with them and do like a tour of Kenya through storytelling. So
Wow.
so I research stories, I do the scripting, and then I use the dancers as part of the cast. And we have done 4 stories so far. It comes once a month. And I am hoping that we can be able to do stories from around the whole country. That would take us a couple of years.
How did you become so knowledgeable about your culture? Are your parents college professors, or what? Yes.
No, reading, carrying out
Reading.
research. I am a voracious reader. I read anything, anywhere. So that's how I do research. And I also happen to be a good listener. So, but for me, this is actually an amazing project, not just for me as a person, but also I think for storytelling in the country, because it is the first time that a government body is actually like interested in archiving this and in doing this. So I'm hoping that it's something that can continue. We have agreed to work on, I think, 9 stories, but I hope that after we finish that, we can do more of the stories.
Congratulations.
Actually,
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, somebody.
yes, actually, it's a very good thing that you are creating a heritage bank, which is very important because a lot of it is getting destroyed. And we are COVID not only killed a lot of people, a whole generation of knowledge also got lost with them, which we don't believe. What you're doing is an amazing job. I wish well for all who are involved in the project, because the future generation needs to look back and say, yes, something was done. And your story was like
Yeah.
those sprinkle of magic that you put in. I love such stories, where someone predicts future. I love such stories. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Wangari. Thank you so much for that wonderful story. I loved it. And the way I love listening to you telling stories. And as a British man, I want to acknowledge what we did in colonial times in many countries. But it's amazing that you're asserting traditional Kenyan cultures, and it's valuable. I'm interested to know, do young people in Kenya, do they all know about this woman?
People of my generation would probably have learned about her in school. I'm finding that the current generation, even our curriculum is kind of revised. So there are so many things that we used to learn that they are not learning, which is also why I'm loving this particular collaboration, because then we can be able to share these kinds of stories. There's a program that in the Kenyan curriculum, especially in secondary schools, there is what they learn as oral literature. And of course, it's very theoretical. It's about the genres of stories that can be told, about stylistic devices. But then myself and a group of storytellers have also, over the last couple of years, been going to schools and sharing stories. And these are some of the stories, although we have not done Sioki Mao before, but we have done previous legends from different communities and myths from different communities. And I think this is something that should continue to be done, because it's both informative.
Definitely.
And it's also, I think, an important part of our history.
Great.
And wonderful to share it around the world as well. Thank you.
This wonderful story. I always like African storytellers coming, and their style of telling was really interesting. And their stories also coming something to do with nature, something how the civilization evolved. So many stories I have been very much interested in listening to your stories. And one question. This Wangari, the Sue Hodgson told about the tree's name as Wangari, and your name sounds similar. Is there anything to do with that, Hudson or Wangari? Can you?
No. Just 1 minute. I have to answer the door.
Okay, to answer that question, it's actually Ungali, not Wangari.
Oh,
Ungali.
Okay.
So very similar, but in sound, but yeah.
So okay.
Okay, we are behind, so we have to proceed. So thank you again, Wangari. Now.